Good afternoon. This is week 5 interactive concept presentation, the experiment with the pennies and the vinegar. So we're going to need a couple things. We're going to need some pennies, and it's better if they're dirty, that way we can see the difference. We want measuring cups, table salt, a couple of steel bolts. We're going to need measuring spoons so we can measure out the salt, vinegar, and water. Plastic spoon and a non-metal bowl. So the first thing that we're going to do is we want to put a teaspoon of salt into our bowl. We're also going to put 1/4 cup of vinegar. So we are going to mix around the salt and the vinegar until it is completely dissolved. By mixing the table salt and the vinegar, we are mixing a weak acid. And so that's actually going to help us get the results that we want, which is the clean pennies at the bottom whenever we get done with our experiment. So we want to continue to stir until everything looks dissolved and our mixture is clear. So basically what we're going to be doing is putting the pennies into our mixture, which is a weak acid. And we are actually, basically what you're going to be doing is removing some of the copper ions from the pennies, and that is what is making them shiny again. And then we are going to be dropping our bolts, our shiny new bolts, into the mixture, and that will make it actually, the copper will attach itself to those, and so it will actually turn a dark color. Okay, so we have started at this point, and it basically looks clear, which means we're dissolved pretty well. So then we're going to go ahead and add our pennies to the mixture. Some of mine weren't very dirty. And so immediately on the super dirty ones, we're starting to get bubbling action taking place. And so that is actually some of the copper ions that are dissolving off of it. So basically what we're doing is leaving this in the mixture and letting some of the copper ions dissolve off on it. So then that leaves us our pretty new shiny exposed copper. And this may take a few minutes as far as how long the process takes, because according to the video it did take a few minutes. So whenever we take our penny, well, we're going to take some of our pennies out and rinse them in water, and that's where our water comes from. And so we're rinsing off the acid off of the pennies, and then those pennies are going to remain the pretty bright color pennies that we were trying to achieve. And then some of the pennies we're actually just going to put on the paper towel, leave the acid mixture on them, and they're actually going to turn a blue-green color. And so basically the copper oxide is dissolved off whenever we're putting the pennies into the salt and vinegar acid. And whenever we're rinsing it off, obviously we're stopping the reaction. But whenever we are leaving the little bit of mixture on the top of them and just letting them air dry, they're going to turn color. And so basically the oxygen in the air and the chlorine from the salt makes it a blue-green compound that is called malachite. To which I was also thinking of this whenever we were, whenever it's explaining how to do the reaction. And that's something that we see sometimes on statues that are outside that are made of copper. Especially, for instance, here you have the Civil War National Park or Memorial Park in Vicksburg, and they do have a lot of copper statues and structures out there, and you do see the malachite on all of the structures that are out there. And that's just part of the process that's taking place. And so whenever we are putting the new bolt in here, basically the copper is attaching itself. And so that's what's actually turning it the dark brown color. So basically we're just waiting, you know, waiting and waiting and waiting for this to dissolve. It said it could take about 5 minutes or so. So some of the pennies we are starting to see are starting to clean up pretty well. Some of my dirtier ones are not quite as clean. I did have some that weren't very dirty at all, and they look pretty shiny and new. So my ones that weren't dirtier at all, I'm going to go ahead and take them actually out of the mixture. But I'm not going to rinse those. Those are the ones that I'm going to leave with the vinegar, salt water, acid mixture on it, so that we can go ahead and see what that's going to look like. And then my dirtier pennies I will actually leave in here and let them clean up some more. And so I'm not really sure how long it will take for the malachite to form on the pennies that have the mixture still on them that we didn't rinse off in the water. But we will see it form at some point. It may be after the video is over. But basically, if we go ahead and take these pennies out and rinse them in the water, that's going to go ahead and stop the reaction from happening. And so that's going to leave them the pretty color. So I'm going to go ahead and get some water so that we can go ahead and start kind of washing those off. Okay, so I did wind up leaving one in there that was really dirty, just to see if we can get it cleaned up some more. It's still bubbling and everything. But on these, you can kind of see where it was able to get most of it off. I mean, if I would have left them in there, obviously it would have got them clean all the way. And so they do look better than what they did whenever we started. And so this might be something that you want to do whenever you get really dirty pennies, if you like clean pennies. So now I'm going to go ahead and drop the bolts in the water and see if they start turning a color. I wasn't real sure about these bolts. I assume they're made of some steel, but they also do have some plastic in the middle, so I wasn't sure if that would negatively affect how they will react with the mixture. I just found them in some of my husband's stuff, so I'm not sure if they're important or not. And so basically, the bolts being in the water, they're going to turn the dark color because we're actually combining the copper atoms or ions with them. The copper ions are sticking to them because of the different charges, and so that's what's actually turning them the dark colors. So obviously, you know, this may take some time for all of this to work out, but basically that's how it all works. Thank you.